2 points. That was the razor-thin margin between survival and heartbreak. The crowd didn't just cheer, they held their breath. The kind of ending where heroes are made, rivals are silenced, and toughness finally speaks louder than hype. This wasn't just another WNBA playoff game. This was a battle, a raw, bruising, nerve-shredding fight between the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream that had fans glued until the final second. The scoreboard read 87-85 when the buzzer finally echoed. But the story behind that score, that's where the drama truly lives. Let's rewind. The Fever entered this matchup battered, doubted, and missing their brightest star, Caitlin Clark. Her absence was supposed to be the death blow. Analysts didn't just predict an Atlanta win. Some outright dismissed Indiana as if they were lucky to even be here. But that doubt, it lit a fire. And at the center of it all, Kelsey Mitchell. From the opening tip, Mitchell came out like she had something to prove. Step backs, deep threes, drives through traffic. She scored 19 points in the first half alone.
Staying aggressive, trying to pick out the angles where you see the drives to be aggressive, and then collapse. If they collapse, be able to spray out. So staying aggressive, getting to the line early.
Defensively, what do you need to do to anticipate their three-point shoot?
Atlanta couldn't stop her rhythm, couldn't slow her footwork, couldn't even breathe when she had the ball. The Dream tried everything, switching defenders, trapping her at half court, even forcing awkward mismatches. But every time, Mitchell answered with another dagger.
Done tonight against the Atlanta Dream. Final score 77-60.
Just as I predicted on our earlier news.
The Fever bench was on its feet, and the arena buzzed like they were watching a superstar write her own playoff chapter. But here's the catch. Mitchell's production slowed in the second half. The Dream adjusted, swarming her with double teams, forcing her to pass. And this is where the Fever's story shifted from one-player show to true team grit, because suddenly others stepped up. Odyssey Sims, a veteran who's seen just about everything in this league, turned back the clock. 16 points. But it wasn't just the buckets, it was her timing. Sims threaded the assist to Aliyah Boston on the game-winning shot. Without that connection, without that trust, the Fever don't advance. And speaking of Boston, let's pause here. Aliyah Boston has been criticized this season for playing too nice, for not being physical enough in the paint.
I get it.
Yeah.
Every commercial doesn't have to have it. March Madness is happy. People do win.
Yeah.
People do win. It's okay to show that. It's okay to show someone.
For not owning that bruiser mentality her size demands. Against the Dream, all of that flipped. She played angry, tough. At one point, she literally shoved Brianna Jones to the hardwood after getting bullied on possession after possession. That wasn't just a foul, that was a message. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and most importantly, one clutch shot that will live in Fever history. With under a minute left, Odyssey Sims dished the ball to Boston. Instead of hesitating, she powered up and scored through traffic. That bucket gave Indiana the edge they needed, the moment where the team's belief turned into destiny. But the game wasn't over, not even close. Atlanta pushed hard. Ryan Howard tried to take over, driving at the rim, forcing the Fever's defense to collapse. The crowd could feel it. One slip, one bad rotation, and the Dream would flip the script. And then came the play that sealed everything. Lexie Hull, 10 points on the night, but her true highlight wasn't on offense.
What did you see from that standpoint?
It got ugly, it got mucky. You knew Atlanta was going to be aggressive and, make stuff ugly for us.
With 1.2 seconds left, Atlanta had one last chance. Hull read the play perfectly, jumped the passing lane, and stole the ball. She didn't just end the game. She ripped Atlanta's heart out. Ball to Boston, Boston to Sims, Fever possession. Game over. 87-85. Indiana to the semifinals. Now let's talk about what this really means. This wasn't just a win. This was a cultural shift. The Fever, often criticized for inconsistency and for being too reliant on one or two stars, showed a different identity. They became a collective. Mitchell set the tone early. Sims brought the veteran calm. Hull delivered the dagger. And Boston, she finally became the enforcer everyone knew she could be. And while the team was celebrating, Caitlin Clark was watching from the sidelines.
Fever fans want her back. The Fever, by the way, are getting pretty thin at guard with season-ending injuries to Ari McDonald, Sydney Colson, Shanae. At what point?
Remember, she's out injured, and speculation has swirled about whether she could return this postseason. The debate is messy. Some say medically impossible. Others whisper that she could still shock everyone. But the moment the game ended, Clark's reaction went viral. Her post read, "What are they going to say now? Let's celebrate. Fever advance. Anything else is a bonus. Let's stun the world again. My breathing just returned back to normal." That's not just a caption, that's a statement. A clap back at doubters, at critics, at the narrative that Indiana couldn't win without her. And if, by some miracle, Clark does come back in these playoffs, the internet won't just react, it'll explode. Commentators are already calling the possibility league-breaking. But let's not get lost in hypotheticals. What matters here is that the Fever proved they don't need a single superstar to fight their way through chaos. They've got grit, toughness, and unity, the kind of formula that upsets giants. Of course, the game wasn't without controversy. Sophie Cunningham, sidelined with a leg brace after surgery, found herself in the middle of a bizarre sideline incident. A police officer, or possibly security, got right in her face. An unnecessary confrontation that had social media blowing up within minutes.
Odyssey was holding her right shoulder.
Fans called it disrespectful, unfair, even reckless. Cunningham didn't play a single second, but somehow her name trended just as much as Boston's. And then there's Austin Kelly, the Fever's assistant coach. He showed up to this game in a full suit and tie, actively coaching from the sidelines, like he was already the head man. That raised eyebrows, not just from fans, but from insiders who know the Fever's coaching dynamics are complicated. Is Kelly being positioned for a bigger role? Or was this just a one-off show of leadership? Questions linger, but through all the noise, one truth echoed louder. This was a win for toughness, for team-first basketball, for grit over glamour. Fans online said it best. This is the kind of WNBA game we've been waiting for. Not a blowout, not a snooze fest, but a fight. A DAWG fight, where every possession mattered. Where the crowd wasn't just entertained, they were on edge. The live chat, usually quick to roast or complain, was buzzing with positivity. Over 500 to 600 people tuned in, and not one was whining about bad basketball. That's rare. And make no mistake, Aliyah Boston's transformation was the heartbeat of it all. For months, fans begged her to play meaner, to own her dominance. Against Atlanta, she finally did. That shove, that late-game bucket, that refusal to back down. This wasn't the same Boston we saw in June. This was the leader Indiana desperately needed. It's also worth pointing out the contributions that won't make the highlight reels. Natasha Howard quietly dropped 12 points, filling gaps when the offense stalled. Michaela Timpson only played 3.5 minutes, but in that tiny window, she grabbed 5 rebounds. Those hustle plays, they matter. They stack up. And in a game decided by 2 points, they might have been the hidden difference. So what's next? The Fever now move into the WNBA Semi-Finals, a stage they haven't seen in years. The path only gets tougher. They'll be facing teams with deeper benches, healthier stars, and more playoff experience. But here's the twist. Nobody expected them to get here in the first place. Every game from now is house money. Every upset is a shockwave. And if this game proved anything, it's that the Fever aren't scared of a fight. They want the fight. What a game. What a statement. The Fever didn't just survive, they owned the moment. And now the semifinals await. But hey, I want to hear from you. Was Boston's toughness the turning point? Or was it Mitchell's hot start? Drop your take below. And if you enjoyed reliving this thriller, show some love. Like, comment, share it with your crew, and hit that subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter.